We really, as I said, just want to find out a little bit more about you. Who is the person behind this amazing character that you play so well on Skeem Sam? First of all, let's start with Skeem Sam. How and when did you get into Skeem Sam?
Oh, it's a very long and tough journey. I started before coming to the auditions of Skeem Sam, I'm trying to explain to you how I got into acting.
How did you get into acting?
Exactly. When I was in primary, I used to take part in all the activities that we had. And then luckily, they'll always pick me up to play the lead characters on the dramas that we had. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to high school, the same thing happened. And then that's when I realized that I have passion in acting.
There's a gift there.
Yeah, that's when I realized that I think I might be an actor, but still I wasn't sure. Uh-huh. So when I was doing my matric, that's when our drama group started performing at community theaters. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized that actually this is my life, this is who I am.
That's awesome.
So I explained to my parents that I want to study acting. They said to me, there's no way you're going to do that. It's either you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor.
And I know you grew up in a village, right?
Yeah, I'm a village boy.
So I can imagine being in the village.
There's no celebrity from where I come from.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I always thought that...
Did your parents even understand what you were talking about?
Truly speaking, they didn't. I also didn't think that it was actually possible for a village boy like me to be on TV. Mm-hmm. It was just impossible for me to believe. But something kept on saying that you will be. So I listened to that inner voice and I followed my passion. So when they denied me studying acting, I was obedient, and then I went to University of Limpopo to study law. I studied LLB for 4 years. When I was doing my final year, I realized that next year I'm gonna have to do articles and practice as a lawyer. And then I'm like, there's no way I'm going to do that because that's not who I am. I can't spend the rest of my life being somebody that I'm not. Mm-hmm. So I started attending auditions. I followed the SABC One Facebook page on the social networks. And then they updated their audience about the shows that they have and the auditions. Then that's when I went to one of the auditions. And then luckily, I got the role.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was literally just something that you followed up, no agents, no nothing.
No, nothing.
Had a dream and you went
after it. When I saw that status about the auditions, I was still at the University of Limpopo. I didn't know anyone around Joburg. So I literally took a taxi from Limpopo to Joburg. Without knowing anyone, I got to Bree, and then I started asking around, where's Auckland Park? I want to go to the SABC. Mm-hmm. You know that it's not easy to come to Joburg and get help because you are afraid.
It's a big city.
Yeah, it's a big city. I was afraid that I was going to be lost and things like that. But luckily, I found the place, and then I went and auditioned. And then after the audition, I had to take a taxi back home. Without my parents knowing because they didn't approve of me being an actor. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and then the following week I got a call back. I did the same thing because I had saved a little money to come to the audition. So I came for the callbacks, and then they told me that I got the role. And then that's when I told my parents at home. Still, they were skeptical about it, yeah, but eventually they understood.
But how did you feel knowing that you'd finally achieved your dream? You'd finally gotten to the beginning of what you always knew you wanted to do. You always knew you wanted to be an actor, but you had to kind of follow a detour because your parents wanted you to try something else first. When you finally got that call and they said, you got the role, you're going to be on the show, how did you feel about reaching that goal?
It was a nice feeling because for me it was just a fulfillment because I felt like I'm at least a step closer to my dream. I still didn't feel like I've arrived. I just thought me being on TV and doing acting, this is the beginning of greater things to come. So it was a nice feeling. I was ecstatic.
But obviously it required a lot of patience on your part and determination to do it because you had a lot of obstacles in your way to getting there, right? So you had to remain focused on what you wanted despite your detours. And talking about obstacles that you went through, I remember you and I were chatting earlier, and you know, we were talking about how you grew up, and I know that it wasn't a very easy upbringing. Can you give us a little bit of a background about how your childhood was, how you grew up?
Actually, let me just share my story. Do you guys allow me to share my story? Yeah, it's fine. Clement Maosa is a very young boy from Limpopo. I grew up at a place called Garamutla. So it's like very far from Polokwane, the city. So there's less opportunities there. I went to a public school. So it was just difficult for me to think that I would one day become somebody in life. It was just too difficult because all the professions that we knew when we were there, it was teaching, nursing, doctor, that's all. We didn't know that you can actually make a living out of acting or being a soccer player. So most people from the villages, we have this thing that, this perception that it's difficult for you to make it, necessarily because we lack information. But I like the fact that these days there's social networks and other things whereby information it's easily accessible. But back then it wasn't easy. So I always had to try harder and find information and try to seek for opportunities. Because now when I got to Joburg, I realized that there's actually people who go to schools and motivate kids and provide them with information, but I didn't have that. So it was one of the challenges that, okay, I know I want to be this, but how do I go about making it happen? So it was a challenge for me. And at the same time, I'm from a very poor background at home. I've got 4 siblings. My dad was a domestic worker, same as my mom. So even financially, we were struggling. I didn't have everything that I wished I could have back then. So I had to work extra hard because I remember even when I went to varsity, I think 2007, I had just lost both my mom and my dad. So it was a bit tough for me because all the students had, laptops and other material things, but I couldn't afford those because financially we were struggling at home. So I had to work extra hard. During the weekends, I'd go work at a restaurant, being a waiter. I would try other things to kind of generate money for me to survive and also have things that I wanted as a boy. Because there's normally this pressure, there's peer pressure at school whereby your friends will come wearing nice sneakers and other things. So I also felt like I also need to fit in. I also need to have those things. It wasn't easy for me to be at varsity because, you meet different people from different backgrounds and all you want to do is to fit in and also appear to be a cool guy. So that was one of the challenges that I had back then. But then I had to mature at an early age because I realized that, yes, I wish to have those things, but it's kind of important for me to have them, necessarily because financially I'm not fit. So yes, I did some piece jobs there and there just to generate income, and then that's how I survived. And I now had to travel to, actually I had to move to Joburg because I got the role on Skim Sam. So when I got to Joburg, yes, I didn't know anyone. Now I had to, find my own apartment and just to settle in and also adjust. So it was also not easy. But what grounded me was the fact that I am from a very well family, not well in terms of finance, but well in terms of our culture, our belief, and our behavior, how one should carry himself. Yeah, so those are the kind of challenges that I had. But every now and then, I would remember what my parents taught me, how they groomed me, and that will actually ground me and keep me going.
Now, you unfortunately lost your parents at a young age. I think you were 18 when your parents
Yes,
passed
I was
away.
18.
Now here
I
you
just
are,
finished matric.
you're 18 years old, you've just finished matric, and both your parents pass away. How does one continue to remain focused and move on with life when you've had something so major come and shake you? I think a lot of us and a lot of our young people here, part of the reason why we are here is because there's certain things that have happened in their lives, certain things, obstacles, certain unfortunate circumstances, difficult circumstances, painful circumstances that have made it really difficult to say, okay, I can still do this. After losing your parents at 18, what gave you that drive to say, I'm going to get back on my feet and I'm going to keep going?
I think it was purpose. You know, I believe that we're not on this earth by mistake. The reason why we are alive is because there's a purpose about our lives. So I told myself that the fact that I lost both my parents, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. I still need to live. And I can't wake up every day feeling sorry for myself. I need to do something for myself. That's when I told myself that, yes, that was a challenge that I went through, losing both my parents. But does it mean that it's over for me? Or do I have to continue with life? And at the same time, I had a responsibility of taking care of my siblings, my younger brother and my younger sister. So I had to grow up very fast. I had to accept the situation that it happened, but how do I move on? I realized that I have a purpose and I need to work towards my dream, because I believe that we all have one thing in common, and that is time. You've got 24 hours every day. Per day, you've got 24 hours. What do you do with it? Do you sit at home and cry about your problems, or do you try find a solution to move forward? Yes, it's not going to be easy, because some people will come and tell you that I also had a challenge, but this is how I got out. But it starts with you. You need to find that courage in you that, you know what, yes, it doesn't matter who has what or what happened, but I need to move on. I have a purpose. I'm not here I'm here for a reason. It's not by mistake that I'm here. And then you need to find a way to move on with life.
Now, you went on and studied law, which wasn't necessarily what you felt was your passion or what you felt you wanted to do. Did you complete your degree?
Yes, I did complete my degree.
Why? I think, if it was something that you didn't even like, how did you have that motivation and that drive to continue studying for a whole 4 years? And law is not the easiest thing to study.
It's not. Hey, it's not.
So how did you manage to stay focused and study this thing until you finished it? And why did you decide to do that?
I think I convinced myself that I am not a failure. Yes, law wasn't my passion. It wasn't my first preference. But I don't know. I found myself in a situation whereby it's either I study law or I stay at home, because they said they're not going to pay for my fees if I'm going to go ahead and study acting. So I'm like, okay, I'm having this opportunity to go study law. Even though it's not something I like, I can do it for now. Knowing that it's not where I want to go, but for now I can do it, and I believe that it's going to help me, because sometimes it's about education. I told myself that when I get this opportunity, I can make the best use of it, and it might help me in future. So let me get this education while trying to get to where I want to go, which is acting. But this little opportunity that I have right now, I have to use it. So that's why I persevered and completed my LLB degree.
LLB degree, you completed it. And so now you have that degree. Is it working for you now?
It is working for you, because this industry that we're in, it's a very tricky industry. We deal with contracts every now and then, because while I was still studying LLB, there was a subject I did called law of contracts. So now when it comes to contracts, I'm a bit informed. Hence, I negotiate my own contract, my own terms and conditions. So it helps me a lot. But at the same time, I work with an NGO called Peace Foundation, where we deal a lot with rural development, and we encourage people to form cooperatives and try make a living for themselves. So it's helping me in a lot of ways. And at the same time, my plan is to go back to school and do my master's.
That's awesome.
and major in entertainment law, because I feel that we need that.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with you.
I'm sure you
relate. And we need people like that. We need to do that.